answers? I think I'm entitled.
You want answers!
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Screw your freedom.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. Oh boy, what a start to the week. I think my head might explode. And I do and will continue to put up that satire disclaimer. I want everyone on the planet to know that it's all in good fun. We're not really saying anything. Folks, it's incredible. It is the first Q&A monologue of the week. So get your questions into Jolene. We had a really successful Sunday Night Live at the zoo. We had good turnout. We had great questions. We had a good time. And now we're going to engage, folks. Engage in what is going on. Are you prepared? We're going to talk about food. We're going to talk about water. We're going to talk about shelter. We're going to talk about clothing. We're going to talk about, well, we won't talk about medicine because I'm not an expert, but we will talk about self-defense as the days and weeks progress. And we're on a massive recruiting campaign to get people subscribed here on Patreon, on YouTube as well. So there's going to be a lot of shorts coming out, little short 1-minute promotional videos. That's to find people out there who are just waking up to talk on topics that they're curious about. And we need to drag them over here. And you guys on Patreon, you're the advanced crowd. You know what the hell's going on. You're prepared. And so the questions you ask in these Q&A sessions, it's for us right today to talk about. It's also for people who are just waking up. They just took the red pill, fell down the rabbit hole, bonked their head. They're rubbing it going, hey, that frickin' hurt. Where am I at? And then we tell them. And then they start learning the truth. And I want to start today with Justin Trudeau. Prime Minister? Is he the Prime Minister, the number one minister, the big spokesman for Canada? Oh yeah, that's who that guy is. Guess what? This guy is brilliant. He looks at all the Canadian truckers who are driving across Canada wanting freedom. It's the convoy of freedom, saying we want our rights. Know what he's accused them of? You're going to love this. This idiot, folks, has accused the Canadian truckers of racism and using Nazi symbolism. Really? So they have like dudes dressed like Gestapo, and they're driving the trucks. It is incredible that he would accuse them of this, especially, folks, remember, Justin Trudeau dressed in blackface at one of his costume parties. Now, me personally, I couldn't care if he dressed like any race. Me personally, I don't care. Dressed like a native from the Brazilian rainforest. Dressed like some sheikh from Arabian Nights, which I think was what he was dressed as, wearing blackface. Dress like you're a Zulu warrior, dress like you're a samurai from Japan. I don't personally care. But for the left, all of these leftist ding-dongs, to make a big deal out of cultural misappropriation, stealing someone's culture, that's what misappropriation is, stealing. Borrowing without asking, I don't think you have to ask permission for someone's culture, but this is just how I feel. But this is the attack they've made on us. Well, apparently, if you're white, the only cultural appropriation you can do is to become, I guess, what, a Nazi or a racist? Ridiculous. And it's ridiculous for this guy to make that accusation with no evidence, no support. Essentially, he's counting on the mainstream media to take what he says and go to press, go to broadcast, and basically slander all of the people of Canada of all colors, including, I'm sure, First Nations, Aboriginal, Native Canadians. Did I cover all my bases on that one? Yeah, Justin Trudeau. He lashed out, right, from his quarantine hideaway, his honeycomb hideout, his bunker where he is hiding and making accusations, right? Calling people racist and Nazis, unbelievable. He just got his Rooster Booster, his Jim Jones juice, and the Rooster Booster, the little cock here in America. I'm sure he's really happy to hear that. Yeah, so Trudeau just gets his Rooster Booster, and he comes down with cerveza bug, and he doesn't have to lock himself up, go into isolation and quarantine, but he did, and now he's hiding there. And he is accusing the convoy crowd of using hateful rhetoric and accusing them of using violence towards citizens. How is that violence towards citizens? Folks, I think there's something in the Jim Jones juice, something intoxicating, something that makes your brain not function so good. I'm pretty sure it's not alcohol based, but good golly, that Jim Jones juice is good stuff. Well, I tell you what, folks, I don't think that when you're building something, you should like tap a nail and then hit it a few times and leave it sticking out. I think you should hit that nail and drive it all the way home. Trudeau is a coward. He is lying to the people. He's a hypocrite, and he's doing a disservice to what all Canadians and all Americans know is their rights. Now, let's chalk one up, another victory up for the little guy, the little Rooster Booster himself. A 37-year-old man suffered a brain rupture, I believe technically called an aneurysm, and he had cardiac arrest because he got his Jim Jones booster. And they removed him from life support. The man died. I don't know. Does the little rooster, does he have a scoreboard where he's keeping track of all the people he's saved and all the people that, well, didn't? I'm going to keep driving that nail into the board. Oh, we got a lot of other stuff to talk about. You bet. You bet we do, folks. There's a man. He's out there. He's very sick. He needs a kidney transplant. And this is really important. He says, I was born free. I will die free. Looks like a person of color to me. He says, I was born free. I will die free. This guy is willing, or rather, he is willing to die than get the Jim Jones juice in order to be eligible for a kidney transplant. Once again, folks, either you play their game or they're going to kill you or let you die. Isn't that the same? So this guy, because he believes in freedom, his faith is so strong, he has integrity, he's dedicated to what he knows is true, and he's dedicated to his beliefs, his faith in freedom, and probably his faith in spiritual matters as well. This is where we're at, folks. They're going to continue to do this. Has it hit the fan? You bet it has, folks. You bet it has. I'm going to give you some more, though, right? This is not a lightweight show. I'm going to give you some more. 50%, folks, of U.S. voters believe that President Xi should be impeached. And that includes 50% of black voters. Now, once again, I said U.S. voters and black voters. This isn't general people on the street. This is voters, right? So, they're upset, Americans, whether it's the open border danger that's been created by the Biden administration and the 2.5 million illegals that have been allowed into our country in the last year alone, whether it was his traitorous withdrawal from Afghanistan, his record-breaking inflation, or his association with Chinese communists, business deals via his son, Hunter Biden, or the continuing Faustian nonsense Americans seem to have had enough of this guy. 1 year ago, he was the most popularly elected president ever. 91 million votes, right? Everyone knows that to be the truth, right? I can't say otherwise, right? Because I can't give out misinformation. I only, folks, follow their rules. But here's enough. Americans have had enough. This most popular president, now half U.S. voters want him impeached, the other, and half of black voters as well. This is not a race thing, right? This is an all-out average, it looks like. Americans want their country fixed, I think, and they see impeachment as the cure. And I'm going to come out right now and tell you guys, impeachment is not the cure. Impeachment requires the House of Representatives voting to have the impeachment. If you want to see a real impeachment, go back and watch and listen to the Bill Clinton impeachment. It took weeks, if not almost 2 months, to go through that process properly. You have the impeachment in the House, and then you have the Senate conviction. They try him in the Senate, high crimes and misdemeanors. And if they convict him, find him guilty, then he has to be sentenced. What is that sentence? And removed from office. Is that what Americans think they're going to get with an impeachment? Yeah, that's what they would want. Well, that puts Kamala at the helm of the Titanic, crashing into more icebergs. So there is no quick fix for the destruction our nation has faced. We have a Democrat House of Representatives. We'll never get an impeachment there. We have a Democrat Senate. You'll never get a conviction there. We have a Democrat president, vice president, and we have a Democrat bureaucracy. There is going to be no quick fix to all the troubles being caused by our good buddies up in the land ODC. Hang on, buckle up. It's going to get a lot worse. And I just mentioned all the Democrats that are in there. Think about who is in charge. Now, what if the Republicans win it all back in the 2022 election, you're saying? Maybe not you're saying, but a lot of people out there probably thinking that. Well, we've got our good buddy, Lindsey Graham. He says, quote, and this is regarding, folks, the January 6th protesters who have been arrested. He said, quote, I hope they go to jail and get the book thrown at them because they deserve it. Well, Lindsey Graham and Susan Collins kind of throw off the Trump enthusiasm, and they're vowing, right? They want to see prosecution of the January 6th protesters. Lindsey Graham is a rhino. Susan Collins, rhino. Republican in name only. So they put a big R on the scoreboard. But if we get Republicans in charge again, right? Turncoat Lindsey, he was always sucking up to whoever was in power. He sucked up to Obama. Then he sucked up to Trump. And now he's sucking up to Biden, his side. This is what we're dealing with, folks. This is why it has hit the fan, and it's not going to get better, right? Chalk up all of these problems we're facing. Chalk it up to SHTF, but understand where that comes from. And you can't get rid of it with an impeachment, with one piece of action, with one election. You can't get rid of it. It's not going to go away. It's pervasive. It's now part of the culture politically. And our friends in the media who should be helping us, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, Fox, CBS, all those guys. They're not on our side either. Don't count on them giving the truth, putting the truth out there, the facts. In fact, a host on MSNBC has decided to call the truck convoy going through Canada, decided to call it a cult. Benjamin Dichter on Fox News. Nope. that was something else. We're getting all kinds of names. Here we go. It would be Joe Scarborough. I think our friend on Fox News there is saying something different than our friend on MSNBC. It was Joe Scarborough. I know everyone loves Joe Scarborough, but he's saying this massive support for the trucker convoy is a cult. Since when is standing up for your rights and redressing grievance? Since when does that put you into some kind of a cult? Folks, mainstream media, now that's a cult. And that cult doesn't like other cults. It doesn't like to be challenged by other ideas. It doesn't allow diverse opinions or questioning of authority, right? Zero free speech is their goal. To belong to the mainstream media cult, you don't get to say how you're going to think, believe, worship, if you will, which means to work for. They want you to sit in the pew like a pew potato at a church. Listen to everything they say as if it's the gospel truth. Don't think for yourself, just obey. That is, as far as I'm concerned, the mainstream media cult. They're the cult. But like everything else, it's always projection. Whatever they're doing, they project it on others and accuse them of it. We've got more of it, folks. More of it coming. Chalk it all up to SHTF as these government officials and big shot elitists. They think they're exempt from the rules. They can say what they want, like Justin Trudeau, do what they want. Like I don't know, Governor Gavin Newsom. Guess what he did? He was in a city that had mask requirements. Mask requirements. There was a mandate at the 49ers Rams game. There's mandates in the city. If you're at a crowded event, you must be masked all the time. Well, guess what? Gavin Newsom showed up, posed for pictures with all kinds of people. No mask. Pictured with Magic Johnson, right? Pictured with many others. In fact, the entire box at SoFi Stadium that they were in, unmasked. Eric Garcetti, the mayor of LA. San Francisco mayor, London Breed, no masks. These people are massive hypocrites, folks. It's their cult. They're the leaders. They don't have to follow the rules. Rules are for slaves, folks. Apparently. So I guess if you run the church, if you are the head of the church, the rules don't apply to you. I'm pretty sure this guy named Jesus Christos, he really condemned just a few groups of people. And among them were those who are hypocrites. Hypocrisy is one of those groups of people or those types of behaviors that was most abhorrent to the man. It is incredible what's coming, folks. It's incredible. Now, if you want some reason, some sound reasoning, one of Trump's economists came out, Steve Moore, and he said, hey, I think Biden's energy policy is completely upside down. And we've been talking about that lately. There are going to be consequences, right? Chalk it up to this SHTF thinking that goes around, right? This idea that you can do whatever you want and it really has no effect. Actually, it does have a huge effect. There was this accusation that Trump was a Russian asset, that he was a puppet of Russia. Was that true? Well, all those investigations found nothing. But let's look at this. Biden seems to be helping Russia quite a bit. His Secretary of Energy laughed when she was asked if we can lower gas prices. This is during a mainstream media interview. She started laughing about it. Folks, in the United States of America, we have huge natural gas reserves. Natural gas. I'm not talking about oil, I'm talking about natural gas. But we don't really have pipelines here. But Biden is supporting Russian pipelines, the Nord Stream 2, and is paying Putin millions of dollars to have his oil, Russian oil, shipped into our country. We had domestic production going. We were going to get Canadian oil brought down through the Keystone Pipeline that was already planned, approved, and in the process of construction, creating thousands of jobs, ensuring energy security for America, low low energy cost. Now our costs are going through the roof. The world is demanding more energy, and they're telling us we can get that energy. How? By shutting down our pipelines, by stopping domestic oil production, by getting our oil from Russia. That's going to bring prices down. Incredible. We've got SHTF, folks. Chalk it up to everyone who's doing all they can in government to make it worse, not better. I've spent some time in the last couple of videos talking about food. Are you prepared? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Are you prepared? Right? When we start seeing more problems in this country, it's not because of one little thing or another little thing that was done. It is the consequence of all the actions taken to bring our country down, right? We have the farming community saying, hey, food shortages. They were paid. Recall, folks, that the U.S. government paid farmers in 2020 to plow their crops under and to kill off their livestock. Months later, years later, we're going to continue to suffer for that. It is, as far as I'm concerned, anti-American. Is it treasonous? I don't know if we can go that far, but it's certainly not helping. Do the American people understand what's happening? Why is their food more expensive? Why is there less food? Why is their energy more expensive? Is there going to be an energy shortage here the way there are starting to be energy shortages in Europe? It's not just an accident. In order to make these things happen, it has to be intentional. They have to intentionally reach out and shut things off and kill deals, right? Like the pipeline, if Biden hadn't intentionally killed the project, which I still am not sure how he has the authority to do such a thing. That wasn't an accident, and the consequences of that were understood ahead of time. It's not like, oh, I didn't realize that was going to kill 100,000 jobs, destroy communities, and cost America long term. They don't get to play and pretend like they know not what they're doing. Boy, I tell you, we need more spokesmen. We need more convoys like they have in Canada. In fact, I think they're setting up one here in the US. They're going to start taking it coast to coast. And of course, mainstream media, I'm sure, is going to call it a cult. Well, here's one of these cult leaders that's really shown up. And he says he's going to cancel his tour dates, though, wherever there are mask mandates. Or, if not mask mandates, passport requirements for the Jim Jones Jews. He says, I just won't show up for him. Kid Rock has spoken up, right? He's got some new music out that is political in nature. Kind of funny, something, you wouldn't expect to hear from Mr. Cowboy, Kid Rock. It seems like in the 60s, there was a political message to music. And now there's becoming a political message in music again. Whether we're talking Kid Rock or McDonald, right? We're starting to hear that message. Now, it's funny, the 60s and 70s left-wing hippie musicians, right? They're right now trying to take their music off of Spotify. They're trying to tell Spotify, we're going to take our music back. Neil Young threatened, if you don't shut up, Joe Rogan, right? Well, where's the free speech in that, man? Right? If someone said, Neil Young, you're not allowed to play music anymore in the 60s and then the 70s, what would he say to that? He'd be like, no, man, I got my free speech. You can't stop me. Well, it's going the other way now. We have these leftists trying to silence everybody and trying to threaten to take away their precious music if we don't obey them. That's great. So now we have music stars coming out, and they're not liking this censorship thing, right? And I really chalk this up to, folks. I chalk this up to people with FU money stepping up. Joe Rogan has been stepping up, and now he's not in. He claims to not be an anti-vaxxer. He claims to have, get this, folks, a channel, a show, right? Where he wants to interview people and listen to different opinions. What is so wrong with that? People sharing their opinions, their expert opinions, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's what Joe Rogan is saying. And the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers, likewise, has been sharing his opinion with others. Now, he's a football expert, no doubt, right? He's not a medical expert, but he has his opinion. I think he should be able to talk as well. He may not be a doctor, but he has an opinion. And the reason he is talking, though, just like Joe Rogan, just like Kid Rock, is they have FU money. They're willing to step up. They're willing to say, hey, look, no more. You don't get to tell us what to do, what to think, how to talk. More people need to do that. These truckers are stepping up. They're saying no more. We're going to protest. We're going to convoy. We're going to block roads. We're going to clog the highways. We're going to make a statement. You would think that the hippies from the 1960s and 70s would be all about this, right? Except the hippies of the 60s and 70s have taken over the political bureaucracies. All the left-wing hippie nerds of the 60s and 70s are now old men and women clogging up federal and state bureaucracies. They've lined their little pockets with fat paychecks. They have huge retirement programs for themselves, and they're enjoying lording their political power over you and me. Now, if we do our job, as Americans and we take our country back, if we shout loud enough, protest long enough, make good arguments in support of what it is we're saying, then maybe in 20, 30, and 40 years, Washington and the state capitals will be clogged with people who like freedom and liberty, right? And those will be old patriots, men and women, in charge of everything. And the world will be a much safer and more prosperous place. So perhaps we had to go this far down into SHTF land in order to find our way back to liberty, our individual rights, our collective rights as a country to be served by the government, not enslaved to the government. Folks, chalk it all up to SHTF. We're going to either become totally slave or we're going to find our way back to freedom. And once again, if you look back at history, if you truly read the history books, get in the Wayback Machine and go back. The early patriots were salt of the earth, regular Joes, regular Marys, but there were also extremely wealthy people that had FU money for King George, starting with that great thinker, John Hancock, the richest man in the American colonies, signed his name the biggest, along with other Freemasons and other patriots and other great thinkers and other great philosophers of that time, across the spectrum, across the colonies. We have the same thing today across the political side of freedom. We have wealthy people and we have people in the middle and we have regular Joes. People with FU money and people who don't have anything to lose because they're at the very bottom just trying to start out life, and we all want liberty and freedom. Chalk it up to SHTF, folks. When all is said and done, if it wasn't for this, right, we would probably still be sitting under, the soft velvet gloved hand of tyranny. As it is, they don't want to give us a velvety hand, right? The glove is coming off. It's hit the fan, and they're making it very, very rough. I tell you, folks, let's get to your questions. I want to hear what you're thinking as this week starts off. It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be exquisitely stated. It can be a question or a statement, an idea, a topic, a particular subject that you want to know more about that you think we should all be thinking about and discussing. That's what this Q&A is that we do all week long. And remember, you've got people who are just now waking up, just now opening their eyes and going, what is going on? That's not the America I remember. And they're wanting to learn. And so we're one of the channels that discusses all these topics. And people are grateful. I'm getting and continuing to get information messages from people saying thank you for all that you do and I do, because we're doing this together. So let's get to it. Let's get to your questions.
Are you ready?
Oh boy, knocked my camera off. I went to stretch and just hit it with my hand. Pow. Unbelievable. All right, we got Doc Holliday, guns and Second Amendment. He says, do you think leaders in the YouTube and internet space can organize people to create a unified front? Yes, Doc, I believe that is exactly what we're doing right now. It's working. It is very effective. See, when I look at you guys and I look at YouTube, and I look at the zoo and I say, tell everyone. Send out emails, send out text messages, make a phone call, tell someone to tune into this show. When I say that, within 5 minutes, we increase the viewers by 100, right? It increases dramatically. I don't know how many people are sending messages out. I don't know how many are sent out, but I see that we increase viewership by like 10%. Every time I just say those words and remind people, hey, speak up, right? Speak up to your friends, your family, your loved ones. So YouTube leaders, we're just one of many channels. And then there's the whole internet. You've got Instagram, you've got Twitter, you've got Facebook, right? We have our Facebook, we have our Instagram, we have our Twitter, but we focus very strongly on YouTube because it is so well understood and so easy to use. And then, of course, we have Patreon, which is protected, where we really get to bring home the heavy duty stuff, the heavy duty articles, news, and information. That is why, because we are so effective and you are so effective, that is why they are censoring us and silencing us and saying you can no longer talk and offer your opinion on the world of medicine because you're not an expert. You can no longer talk and bring on your opinion about elections because you're not an expert. Right? It's dangerous. It's misrepresenting. Well, that's what they say. That's what big social media says. They're afraid of us. And as far as I'm concerned, they're lying when they say that we're misrepresenting things. All I am representing here, all I represent is an opinion. I represent satire. I represent philosophy. I represent the humorous side of a very difficult life. Chalk it all up to SHTF, folks. These people are scared to death. They pulled the trigger on their great reset. They are all secret, private, individual collaborators in the great scheme to destroy the United States of America. Do you think for a second that mayors in Democrat cities don't understand what it is they're doing when they don't prosecute criminals who have burned businesses, destroyed businesses, and assaulted their own police? You think they don't understand the consequences, the gravity of allowing such a thing? Of course they do. Do you think for a second that people in the medical community don't understand what's being done? Yeah, if they agree with it, they go along with it. If you oppose it, you get silenced because they don't want opposition. They're afraid of it because we, use critical thinking, logic. We use statistics, common sense. We look around and go, what makes more sense? What they are telling us, the mainstream media, what the White House is telling us, Jen Psaki or Biden himself? Or do we listen to our own thoughts and gather information, come up with our own conclusions? And then I do the same thing as you. I get information from the White House. I get information from the mainstream media. I get information from medical experts. And I put it all together and I want to decide what I believe. And then I'd like to share that with you. And then we are supposed to be able to share these ideas. Your ideas, my ideas, what we see, what you see. But they're afraid of us. They've silenced us and said, you can't talk about that anymore. That's very bad of you. It's misinformation. So they've silenced us because they fear that as a loose-knit organization, all of the leaders in the alternative space, as they started calling us. They don't want us becoming more powerful, great leaders. So for years now, folks, we have labored on this channel, on the Prepared Mind channel, the network of channels, on Patreon, at the preparedmind.club, your store. We've labored there to stay alive. I could, I guess, go get a job selling spatulas at a Home Depot. I could go start building decks and remodeling kitchens and doing room additions on houses, I guess, as a general contractor. I could go do those things. Right? But that takes up a lot of hours in the day. But I would rather be here fighting this fight, right? Keeping this channel going, trying to keep us as the leaders in the community fighting to defeat these people. And they have on their side the power of censorship. That's all they've got. In the arena of ideas, not very good ideas. If their ideas were good, no doubt, they could convince me they're right, but they're not. So the only way they can defeat me and you is to silence us. Does that mean that we're doomed? We can't win this game? We can't win this battle? No, it doesn't mean we can't win. It just means it's all the more difficult. The reason they had to step up and silence everyone so quickly is because we were so effective. They had to cancel Alex Jones because he was so effective. They're trying to silence Joe Rogan right now because he is allowing people to speak freely. He's allowing people to express their expert and non-expert opinions. Isn't that what freedom of speech is supposed to be about? Right? I'm going to say this. The women on The View are a bunch of cackling old hags who don't know jack shit, but they get to share their opinion every day for an hour and send it out, blast it out on satellite TV, cable TV, the internet, on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm sure they get to have their opinion everywhere. Isn't it amazing how they aren't challenged? They aren't restricted. They have full free speech to say their view, their side of things. But men and women here on YouTube, no, not so much. Men and women on Facebook, not so much. You have to toe the line. Otherwise, you're accused of misrepresenting, and that's dangerous. Oh, yeah, people are dying because of dangerous misrepresentation. And if we can save just one life, wouldn't it be worth it to silence everybody? I love that whole one life thing. That's the game they play, folks. How about the people that I talked about just in this broadcast that have died? One, because he had a brain aneurysm and a heart attack. He got boosted. There's a life. Doesn't his matter? How about the guy who's going to lose his life because he can't get a kidney transplant because he's taken off the list because he refuses? How about that life? Why isn't his life important? I thought if we could just save one life, it'd be worth it. Well, only lives matter. The only lives matter, folks, are the ones that leftists can use, that they can take advantage of, right? They don't seem to care about the lives of babies. And I think it was Governor Cumho and the governor of New Jersey and the governor of Illinois and the governor of Michigan and others, I am certain, who sent infected people back into nursing homes, retirement homes, assisted living homes, old folks' homes who have compromised immune systems. They sent infected people back in, and voila, lo and behold, those lives didn't matter, even though we were sitting at home being told, oh yeah, you have to stay at home to save grandma. Meanwhile, the governors sent infected people back to old folks' homes and caused tens of thousands of deaths. You see the hypocrisy there? Makes no sense, does it? Folks, chalk it all up to HTF, and they need it. They created this. The Democrats created this hitting the fan scenario. They pronounced cerveza bug a pandemic of the whole planet. And as a result, we have to lock everything down. And apparently we're going to save grandma by killing grandma. And we're going to save everyone by destroying everyone. And nobody can say anything to oppose it. And if you do, you're dangerous. Chalk it all up, folks, to the Great Reset and SHTF. Who's next? What else have we got out there? Remember, what you have to say is important. Rick O'Connell checks in. Hey, brother, how are you, man? He says, I think government underestimates the trucking industry. If they decide to shut it down, SHTF will fly. No gas, no food, no China Mart. Crap. Nothing moves without truckers. Hashtag shut it down. Now, here's the trick. Yeah, let's put pressure on the government. Let's do a big trucking lockdown, a big giant international, national strike on trucking. Do you think for 1 second that Gigi Biden is not going to get his filet mignon and lobster tonight? Do you think he's not going to get his pre-chewed meat spoon-fed him by Jill? If we or America or patriots or any group tries protesting in meaningful ways, you see what's supposed to happen with protests of this sort is it's supposed to shut the country down. And the political pressure that is supposed to be brought to bear on elected officials and their concern for the people and the nation in general is supposed to be what causes them to reverse their policies because they care about the people. Well, it worked in a South American country, did it not? Just a few days ago, we reported it. Down in La Paz, they decided to let up on their mandates. Well, in the United States of America, I don't think it's going to be effective. I really don't. I think the Democrats are going to say, look at what all these right-wing extremists, these Nazis are doing. They're stopping your food, your fuel, your goodies from China Mart and Target and Kohl's, your goodies, right, that go to all these mega corporations. You can't have them now because the vast right-wing conspiracy of trucking cult has stolen, right, your freedom from you by denying you all of your goodies. Oh, yeah. See, government does underestimate us, our value, our worth. They underestimate our ability to communicate. They underestimate all of these things. But I think we underestimate the evil that these people are willing to subject the people to and how they will lie. Their hypocrisy is a form of lying. And what they're doing with these truckers, they'll let them strike, you bet. They don't care. They really don't. They don't care about you, your family, your cousins, your coworkers, if they can't get food at their store or if there's no fuel for their cars, because these mayors and bureaucrats, they have all the fuel they need, all the food they need. They're prepared because that's what government does for itself. Government has continuity of government, COG, continuity of government plans, facilities, and supplies. Truckers can shut it down, and yeah, it would cause the shit to fly, but not for the people that have the authority to fix the problems, which is why I keep saying we need to protest. We need to let them know what we think. And if you've got good representation, let them know anyways, because they need that support. But we can't make them do anything. Right? You can't walk up to a government building and shout at the building to fix things. It's not the buildings that matter, it's the people. And the people are inaccessible. And even if you could access them, you can't buy them. That would be called bribing them. Well, large left-wing corporations can donate money to their charitable causes, their tax-free foundations. That's right, folks. They can contribute money to a tax-free foundation and lower their taxes, while at the same time, simultaneously, buying votes, buying legal consideration, right? It's called lobbying. They're not going to listen to us. They don't care. All we represent is liability to them. See what I'm saying? When politicians look at corporations and donors, right, that's an asset to them. They will please that asset. They look at us, we're a liability, we're an expense, right? Yeah, we vote, So they lie to us to get our votes, and then they do what they want to get their payouts. I do hope that they have the truckers strike, because it will wake up people. A number of people will wake up and take action and say, yeah, I guess I need to be more politically active now that my family's hungry. Whoops. A lot of people will realize, yeah, it's actually caused by the government, and the truckers are responding in the only way possible, along with other patriotic Americans and other patriot groups that are going to protest as well. But government will continue to blame everyone else and say they are the reason that there are shortages. They are the reason that prices are going up. So those in government will play the hand that they have as well to convince their side that they are correct and that they're good and that we're the bad guys. In other words, it's really hit the fan. It's not going to get a lot better quickly. Be prepared, folks. Get your preps in order, get your house in order, get your plan in order. And once again, that 10-mile radius around you, learn it, love it, live it, find out what's out there. Now we got David. He says the 2 New York nurses made over $1.5 million selling fake Jim Jones juice passports, documents. That makes the number of actual fully juicinated New Yorkers a fraction of what was thought. Will they change the count? This is 2 nurses. In New York, I think there's hundreds, if not thousands, of nurses administering the Jim Jones juice. Right? There's thousands of them. Not to mention like CVS, Walgreens, other places where they have authorized Jim Jones distribution. I don't know what percentage these 2 nurses could have done. What I'm amazed by is the literal dollar amount. I bet they got in trouble, not because of what they were doing, but because they couldn't properly launder or clean the money. Perhaps they should have watched Ozark to get a couple of tips on how to launder money properly. I'm not suggesting anyone should participate in criminal behavior, folks. I'm making a joke about it. These 2 ding-dongs were too successful at what they were doing. And you might say, if you were on their side, their belief system, they really helped a lot of people out. Now, what I want to know, think about this, folks. This is why you guys support this channel. This is why you send PayPal donations. This is why you guys sign up at Patreon. This is why we need free speech. Think about this. See, I wasn't worried about New York's numbers because they're going to lie about those anyways. I laugh because probably these ding-dong nurses don't know how to clean money. As someone who loves freedom and is a patriot, guess what they're going to do? Think about this. Those 2 nurses have now been caught. Medical officials are going to go back and go into all their records, and they're going to find out who got the Jim Jones juice from these 2 nurses. They're going to find out how much they were having to pay. And then they're going to go check people's records. This is going to open a whole can of worms as an investigation. Right? This is going to get very big and ugly for those people. They're going to have government officials knock on their door and say, did you really take the Jim Jones juice, or did you pay these 2 nurses $1,000, $5,000? I don't know, $10,000? Did they pay in cash, or did they make a PayPal donation to do something illegal? In other words, can it be traced? Can it be proven? Can these people that have gotten the juice, can they claim, hey, look, I got it for real? Well, are they going to have to give up blood and have a blood test and prove that they have the antibodies that are produced by the Jim Jones juice? And you're going to say, oh, no, you have a right to your privacy. You have a right to be secure. They can't force you to incriminate yourself. Oh, I beg your pardon. What about if you get pulled over for drunk driving? You can incriminate yourself by blowing into their little alcohol detector, or you can incriminate yourself by being forced to piss into a container, or they can draw blood from you against your will. You are not secure in who you are. Let's see, which of the Bill of Rights, which amendment in the Bill of Rights was that? Was that the Fourth or was that the Fifth Amendment? I think it was the Fifth, which doesn't hardly exist anymore, except as some chicken scratch on some old parchment. That's right. If you paid some nurse, folks, or you're suspected of paying a nurse or any other medical person, the government can turn around after catching them if they're idiots. So you're not safe. The transaction's not over. Now you have a falsified document. You're part of a system that they can go after, that they can persecute and prosecute. And they can make an example out of you to scare everybody else into compliance. Right? That's what the IRS does. They love that game. They'll audit folks way less than 1%. But they'll use that audit power to scare people into compliance with the tax laws. They're going to do the same with the Jim Jones juice passports. That is if and only if they can manage, right? If the booster rooster can keep cock-a-doodle-doing on TV and in front of politicians and convince them to keep this nonsense up, yeah, you bet. You bet they can keep this up if they can, unless the people reject it. And if that's the case, if the people reject it, then I don't know, it'll just go away. But these nurses are in trouble, I think, for laundering money as well as violating other rules, right? Yeah, unbelievable, folks, where this could go. Understand, though, right? Because I've heard a lot of people, not in this network, but reading the comments on news sites that allow comments. Yahoo News doesn't allow comments because it was a complete Trump fest all the time in every news story. But reading comments on other news articles, people are always like, how do I get a hold of someone to get a fake passport? Who knows somebody that can squirt it in down the sink and then say they gave it to me? Right? They're asking for that. Well, that's illegal, falsifying documentation. You're going to get in trouble for it if you try it. These people are deadly serious. It would be great if they just sweep it all away, the way England did, Ireland did, Denmark did, the Czech Republic, and other countries that have had enough of this garbage. I love to quote those four because they're always right on the top of my head. Love the Irish, love the English, love the Dutch, right? Love the Netherlands, and Czech Republic. I just can't forget those guys. Because every time I say Czechoslovakia, someone jumps down my throat. Anyways, look out. Thank you for bringing up those New York nurses so I could again talk about the problems coming downstream. We got Christine B. Hanna checking in with a statement. Says, what's on my mind? I pray I never get put into the position to take another's life. Don't misread that as weakness. That's a pretty interesting thought. I know a little bit about Christine. I know a little bit about a lot of you. But she's saying, I pray I never get put in the position to take another's life. I pray the same thing. I think all of us really do. But and of course, don't misread that as weakness. And the point is that we don't want that, but why are we even considering that? Why would you consider that you might be put in the position to take someone else's life? Well, we know that we have a right to our life, and we know that we have a right to defend our life if somebody else is threatening it with great bodily harm and injury or death. Whether it's with a gun or with poison, right? You can't hand me a plate of poisoned food and expect me to eat it, right? And they can't say, well, John, you can't shoot someone for bringing you a plate of suspect spaghetti. No, I can't. But if someone is coming at me with, say, a vial of poison, right? Do I have to accept that? Or let's just go to another scenario, right? They continue to harm America, destroy America, make food, fuel, electricity, water, things we need to live, right? Make it more difficult to get in some areas. They're going to have some Mad Max scenarios. No one likes this. No one wants this to happen. But it seems that we're all having to consider it. Now, if you're new to prepping, if you've just woken up, if your eyes are opening to the threats that exist, you are now in the mental position where you have to consider that this could be a potential. And yeah, nobody likes it. It's very frustrating. I've had a frustrating day already, and it's frustrating to think that all I want to do is be left alone, live a peaceful life, a good life, have good friends, good family, be surrounded by those that I love and that love me. That's what we all want. And to live in a country where others have those exact same things and we coexist together. Remember those coexist bumper stickers? It has the word coexist spelled out with all different religious symbology. That was speaking to tolerance of others and having love as the primary motivation for living with others, right? Coexisting for mutual benefit. That's all been shattered and taken away. All right, we got Mr. Sean E. Momini checking in. He says, how much of this is created in order to bring about certain agendas, and how much is to bring about their automated world? My friend, brother, those are one and the same. Their agenda, their great reset, incorporates the automated robot world. It's all part of it. You can watch old movies. I'll name one here. They Live, where there are, and this movie is a John Carpenter flick. Great movie, starred Roddy Piper and Keith David. Great acting, great story. Had a drone flying around, and you can't see all this stuff unless you wear their special glasses. These special glasses allow you to see all the control mechanisms, including fully autonomous drones flying around, following people and watching what they do. They want an automated world. Automated Amazon warehouses, automated deliveries, right? Like driverless trucking, driverless deliveries. They want to use drones to deliver small items, small packages. You bet they would love that because they get rid of the human element. This is part of their agenda. That is a part of the agenda. If we could put his comment back up there, Jolene, please. Because you ask how much of this is created in order to bring about the agenda. In my opinion, human beings never ask for centralized, top-down, authoritarian control from their government system. But that is what we always get, whether you're talking about the Persian Empire or the Roman Empire, whether you're talking about the British Empire, the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese Empire. All of these countries, folks, had empires of their own. The British was a big one. They said the sun never sets on the British Empire. But it became very authoritarian. King George, right, pissed off the American colonies. They said no more, and we fought a revolt. They create the situation. They meaning those in charge. Here we have America. We thought, yeah, we've got representation. We elect them. They'll behave. They'll do as we say, or we'll kick them out of office. Look what that's gotten us. Nothing, because the power behind these agendas, the massive corporate power known as the military-industrial complex. There's also the medical-industrial complex, right? That's big pharma, big medicine, big tech. We have the, social media industrial complex. All of these massive conglomerations and corporations throw billions of dollars at government in order to bring about the agenda. They throw money at them. So it doesn't matter if you elect one person and then they get kicked out because they sucked. The next person you put in, they get bought up as well. It's a nasty system. And the agenda is, of course, world domination. It is always sought by every leader. First, they control their castle. Then they control their city. Then they control their state, their county, their government, always bigger, always seeking to expand. That's their agenda. Corporations, the globalists, if you will, they know no boundaries. Their country is the whole planet, and they operate in countries where their money buys the most influence, gets them the most return on their investment. Their agenda is to put in the most profitable system for them at the expense of anyone they can get a hold of. So corporations that have moved their manufacturing facilities to China, they're taking advantage of Chinese labor that's cheap, selling the products back in America and Europe at an even bigger profit margin. That's their agenda. We've now gotten to the point, Mr. Shawnee, where they've developed autonomous trucking, delivery, shipping, drones. In fact, we have drone autonomous police. You've seen the robot dogs, the robot drones that fly overhead. It's all real now. They actually have bipedal Terminator style robots. I've seen the videos of them walking on uneven surfaces, running. All they got to do is put a weapon in the hand of that thing and a program that has facial recognition that looks for people that it considers to be criminals, right? And you've got RoboCop. Is that RoboCop good for us or not good? Who's the person in charge of the agenda? There's the word agenda right there. Who's the person in charge of the agenda? Who has the authority and the power? That's what we have to be worried about and concerned about. That's why you have to be prepared and fully ready. Great topic. I'm sure we're going to be addressing it in the future. Do me a favor, if you will, folks. Share the address, the internet address. Share that with others so they can watch, learn, continue to wake up, and subscribe. Always tell people to subscribe. They may not believe today, but they're going to see the results tomorrow. They'll come back. The more we talk about it, the more we point out that shit has hit the fan. It's not so we can say, I told you so. It's not so we can feel superior because we were correct. It's because we want to help others. Once again, that community of loving others and being on the same team, right? We're discovering that our team, the people's team, it's not the same team as those in charge. As George Carlin, that great philosopher and comedian, said, right? It's a big club, this club of elite, powerful people, and you ain't in it. I'm not in it either, folks. You know, it was our country. Fight for it. It's still your country. Just because they say they own it doesn't mean it's so. All right. For now, I'm going to let you go, but I'll be back bright and early. Right? Bright and early. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Semper Fi, Godspeed. Thank you for all that you do.